You guys, my name is Jennifer Finch. I'm a visual artist and musician that grew up in Los Angeles, California. I started going to punk shows in 1981 and had the pleasure of being curated through that experience by that's photography that would show up in the LA Weekly and the LA Times on a regular basis, sort of guiding the way on what to expect when we would show up at shows. This is Edward Colver. He is also a visual artist and photographer. Ed, tell us about how you grew up and your background.
Well, when I studied saturation, Southern California, and I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley. My great-grandfather raised blindness in Cusquina. My father was forestry during the San Gabriel foothills for 43 years, and after we retired, the name of all the peak southwest of Mount Baldy out during Bush Senior, things, anything like that. Theodore Rosedale Conservation Award at the White House. So cool.
Wow. Do you know we have that in common? My ancestors also settled the San Fernando Valley in the early 1800s. Did you?
No, I did not.
Uncommon. Interesting.
We can after my quote to the 12 times to remove great-grandfathers came from a heat link to this disconnect in 1635.
Wow. That's amazing. So how did you get into, I know a lot about Ed, and I'm sure you all do as well.
A little bit of comps.
So you could obviously, yes, that's a good thing, you know. But at the end, really, I like to start out with your story with you were a visual artist. We started as a sculptor and a visual artist, and then we picked up the demo. Can you tell us about that?
That happened.
That happened.
Ever since I was a child, I was all totally in all three. Just cared about art. So very growing up, I studied all lines of fly art, such as just reading the drawings, sculpture, pre-made ceramics, design. I studied all that, and that totally helped me with my photography. Understanding the composition.
Absolutely. And then you started photographing Tom's Rocket Madame Wong's, going into the city.
Yeah, after so never was a real graphic Madame Wong's. I always said that's where you wait until die.
Oh.
So I saw a couple of shows there, and then with Hong Kong Cafe opened up, and I jumped over there and never looked back.
That's how you job. Yeah.
It's a big fan. Weird.
What? Is Karen here? No, it's like she left Karen.
What do you mean?
No, it's always looking at his days.
That's the extra about my own securities.
Yes, nice. Yes, absolutely. So I guess what we look at a lot of times when we look at your work is how you integrated audience into the look of the performer and on stage. And through this exhibit here at the Punk Rock Museum, 2nd anniversary, shout out Punk Rock Museum.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. If we all look behind us, sorry for you at home, you're not going to see, we do have a series of editing of work that you contributed to, and it's fun. You're not just a documentarian of the live show, you were also part of products that came out of Los Angeles that were exported to the rest of the world. So here we have the Circle Jerks Grief Sex, and on the walls, I believe it is Allison, the original photograph is actually in the collection of the museum. Yeah. Right? Tell us about that photograph and then what brought you to working with that particular album.
Well, like going grab the Circle Jerks and publicity, and I dropped Gene Real Foley to my white coming what's in right. I just use our album and asked you to shoot the covers. There's people that think that it was entirely spontaneous. It was not. I was there to shoot the album cover. I brought color film that proves what was going on. The initial original photo was a bad color shot.
Right.
Diane and Cabbage, the graphic designer, took it and turned it into a stat print and did this rapid tone, and then I really like this cover and house came out.
Yeah. And it's also this idea of a performer looking to the audience as the audience is looking at the performance.
I was soaked. So I was standing on a ladder, and there's a bunch of skateboarding there on tons around, and it was pretty crazy. When I actually had gone out to my car to load another roll of film, I was sitting in my car with the little thing, and this drunk guy named Reno started backing up, and somebody yelled at what I was loading my film, and somebody yelled, "Look out!" And I looked up, and he's almost backing into my car door, shutting it on my legs that were and that with that happened. So it survived that at least.
I mean, you don't work with assistants, what? Like Hetty did.
He never really did.
No, she didn't. Yeah, was no help with this. Next to that is the black flag damage, which we didn't count it.
A bad week for that of them on the wall, and
So there we go.
almost dollars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, was it?
For real.
Oh, so why don't you tell us about how you're perceived of it? Because you came up with this concept as a creative director.
I came up to that. I have to gear that as a start of having married digits years. And I shot it at a place called the Octotef, kind of on the East LA by the 101 ways.
Yeah.
And they went over there with I brought some red Indians and then I'm here and there and we put dust case on the thing after that, and then I washed it and then I stuck it with the hammer, was fine, cleaned it again. Well, then I went in the kitchen and I was experimenting with my red NDA length and I made the flag out of instant concrete was color and consistency, the red and like the dish she's so favorite consistency, and it came out perfect. You could go out and buy stage blood in those days. So I made it and it came out looking perfect in my opinion. And I don't know why they're doing these horrible reissues. My name's on this started. They took the original, like, lightened it up and messed with it and then issued it that way. And it's like it didn't even have 100% black in the photo. It just, like, it looks like a far and can cut out kind of lyrics. So recently they contacted me about reissuing the Louis saying, "No, let's try to shop the cover up with this." And so I said, "Yeah, I think I put that together." And I went off on this tyrant about all the reissues that Dan like. And he said, "Well, we lost the original page and blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "You're still issuing on it, put it in a new cover." He goes, "Oh, we should do that." And it's like, there you go. That's kind of like a milestone record and a rather well-known album cover. And it looks like, what did you do to this thing? They didn't even contact me about using a decent black and white. It had it, like, on the internet, somebody sent me this meme that was like, it looked 1,000 times better of damage of Nickelback damage. And it's way better than the reissue. It's just like, wow.
Well, speaking of a great use of black, the TSOL record, tell us about that.
I shot the photo of them playing at the Cuckoo's Nest and day two meeting Diane's and Cabbage, who did the Sepultura cover. She worked at Lisa Fancher from here, that August and Bond. And which was owned by the late Greg Shaw. And so I made a print of the TSOL and I took it over there and asked Diane to make me a stat print of it. So she made a black and white stat print, a 12-inch forward square, which is what graphics she made for an album cover in those days. And then I touched it up with the whiteout and a black Sharpie. I kind of put some flecks into Jack's hair to show it was all spiked up that night. It didn't show. And then I painted out this terrible mic stand that looked like it was a finger holster. It looked like Jack was laying his finger on this mic stand. That stuck it into the mic holder. I mean, it looked terrible. And I painted that out. And I fixed a little bit of the TSOL with the Sharpie. And I gave him what was called camera-ready artwork at that time. I did the layout on several different album covers besides just doing the photograph. It's pretty good.
So when you did go to work and do this early proto Photoshop, because photographers have been manipulating their photos since the very first photograph ever taken, but you're doing it on a stack, which is a projection onto an acetate, right?
It's not transparent.
It's not transparent.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that was creepy. That's a little bit different.
Okay.
But yeah, this is just a printout on high contrast paper. It leaves it all the gray tone.
Got it. Yeah, it's incredible. Next tonight's the Channel 3 Fear of Ledge. This is one of my favorite pieces of yours. I think that it evokes so much just in the image itself, but also I've seen this image go through different iterations, particularly in your book, with the text, "In God We Trust." Because I know that you got with LPF, "People We Trust." And then here is, fear of life. What is it about this image? Why was it chosen? And how do you feel about text and textualization of your work?
Well, that actually brings Diane's in the cabbage in again. Personally, I hated the way that album cover looked. I did not like the purple, and I did not like the dominant text. There's text in the negative space, and it's like, ouch, what? And I was always really pissed off. It looks pretty good, but it's way too heavy a grab. And I had my friend redesign it with small letters off the top that says CH3. They're like, the self-portrait was done, which is kind of what I call it. I did for Black Light's Damage album cover, and at the same night I did a spray paint. And if that's all over here, it's up there.
Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't been ripped off big time to that. But I did those 2 photographs by myself at night in my parents' driveway. I took my camera, put it on the tripod, then I measured, I think it was about 21 inches to my front door, thinking that if I could lose a photo of it would look life size in a 16 by 20 print, which that would come so. And then carried my camera out in the driveway, measured out the focal length, and then tripped the timer, and then stood there and hoped I had it in the frame. I couldn't see through the camera. I only get 2 photos. The one came out, the other one I clipped the tip of the gun, and they actually like the other one better because my thumb comes out on top, which adds a little bit more ease. And but anyway, so TSL, Channel 3 had wanted me to do something for their upcoming album, and I asked them, what are you going to call it? And they said, Pure Light. I said, hey, I've got your picture.
Ew.
And I remember throwing a print on Josh Boy's desk, and he goes, oh, this is cool, but I could get in trouble, but oh, this is cool. And it came out, and he now thinks that he owns the copyright to it.
He thinks he owns everything. They say he owns everything.
He said he's calling it a work for hire, and I said I did that by myself, or for that flag. And he's calling it work for hire, saying you license to a third party and all kinds of cramps.
And as we have the, I know, right? We have the other version of it over here with the gun is not.
Did the print. That's the same users. Yeah, it's
right. Well, just so people can kind of see the difference of what a photographer sees and what the end product ends up being is often in conflict, particularly with the square format, because cameras are not square format necessarily. Although, did you shoot with square format? I don't see any here.
I got a real cheap Fujica rangefinder's camera that I shot like 45 Sleep and Safety and Paul Rossworth's Canterbury Shadow show with. Just a couple other things. I didn't ever very much think I got in the Port San Mondia.
With
some video shit. Oh yeah, I had to change the steel chain I clipped onto my wrist, and I had it on there for quite a few years. And my first job for the LA Weekly went college, they sent me to the LA County Jail to photograph some clown that had been stalking some woman. I'm going through security, like, you can't take that off. It's like, no, sorry. And they want to take the shoes. But at least that happens. Also on this wall is Red Cross. And again, we're looking at another, what was the word of the retrostat? Where you... Oh, stab print? Stab? Yeah, it looks like the same process.
Right. And interestingly, the museum has the proof sheet from the photography session over here. So you could actually see what the artist and what Ed would have been looking at when they were going to decide what photo to use for the album artwork. Any stories around that?
Well, there was a guy named Anthony that was in a band called The Phantom. He lived at Venice against the Mau Mau's, and Red Cross played these bad forged for his birthday, and I was there shooting photograph, and I shot that particular photograph of Red Cross on his porch. You're all clowning. There's always...
Right. And it was an organized photo shoot, so you sort of like arranged to get together, or was it...
Oh, it was just impromptu because it was there. So it was like...
Oh, nice. And then that became later.
Yes.
Made out like, wow. So when you go through when you go through all of the different variations of an image, so let's say you were, I'm sorry, I didn't even go look, we shooting Kodak 36 frames.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Kodak frames.
Are you pushing your film? Are you, no? Are you developing your film at this?
Hell yeah.
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 Okay.
I'd overprocess and raise the contrast. Should be when I spray. Item that, the lot of the rule of thumb of like a light photography is keep the data up to keep the details in the black and whites. And I was like, yeah, screw that. I'm using it graphically, and I would just blow it all the way out in white or black. Like I did a portrait of Van Gogh choir. He's visible and had them all wearing white shirts. And in the dark room, I just burned it all out. Didn't let anything paintless there. So it's white shirts, it is white. And it's kind of funny. Everybody wants to drop graphics on it. It's like, no.
Yeah, of course. Up here, we also have a video of Black Flag live. Have you watched that yet?
Oh, yeah. Friend Joe Doherty from the Joe Hedgery then found that footage.
Yeah.
And he showed it to me and watched it. And I said, that's me.
Yeah, we could see what it looked like. So as you guys know, when you're looking at live photographs, particularly at this day and age, you're probably looking at photographers that are allowed to come in for the first two songs. They're given an area in a pit. We didn't have pits back then. There weren't barricades. It wasn't a known form of control. So you can, through the museum, when you're looking at the photography from the beginning of the museum all the way up here, you could start seeing where photographers are being restricted on their angles. And one of the advantages of Edward's height, is that he was able to get in and have the respect of the pit in the environment that he was in to be able to photograph. That was very important. And if you know what talking was that important, we could talk to Allison about what it was like, a 5'2" woman trying to do the same kind of task. We're climbing over heads and bodies and drum pits and on top of monitors to be able to get these photographs. And for me in particular, besides Allison leading the way on that, Ed also did lead the way. Ed never just stood there and waited for a photograph to come to him. For anyone that knows him, he went and sought these shots. They are not accidental. And it really shows being in the scene and being part of it, seeing these bands really took at times and knowing what their energy was instead of when their action was going to start. There are moments of quiet on the stage, which you've captured so beautifully, which I also love. Tell us about that. Your memories of that. This is what it's like when people interview me at the museum. But 1981, November. Tell me about it.
It's smoke in the evening,
Yeah, 8 o'clock in the evening in 1981.
People give me baloney sometimes, like I'll post up something, social media, I call it. And it's like, this is 40 years ago or 45 years ago. And I say 1982, and you think, no, that's 83. His haircut was like this. I've had better things to do in my life. I'm not attention to somebody had that back for the last 45 years.
That's right. That's right. Or we always say when people send that
natural
identification of always look at the ceiling. You look at this, don't look at the artist, look at the ceiling and you can tell what venue. I'm ringing back.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to bring up this photo, which you guys can't see because I'm sitting in front of it, but this is your studio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can straight up.
Let's see that first thing out. This is Ed's studio. And as we mentioned, Ed is, what do you call it? Soft sculpture, found object artist.
Assemblage art.
Assemblage.
Using found
objects. And Ed was one of the first people that I've seen that really entered this genre at a time when it was started to get.
It wasn't common knowledge.
It wasn't common. Exactly of going in.
Could
you stretch it to say that as an assemblage found artist, was the punk rock scene and the audience something of a found object for you?
I guess so.
That you created with what you found, multiple, right? Because I think that's interesting about it for an artist. Like anyone can kind of take these one classes and set them out and like them, but to be able to capture composition, style, form in that decisive moment, which photographers talk about.
I've always called it the indecisive.
The indecisive moment, the blight at the end of the funnel.
Yeah.
See, we see that in both of Ed's expressions in art, right? The sort of using of many, many different shapes to tell us a narrative. And we get to look at this sort of, I guess, would you say that's your most famous, iconic, the Earth at the Subhuman show with the youth sticker?
That was Adolescence DOA and Stiff Little Fingers of Perkins Ballot, July 4th, 1981, that guy, a skateboarder from Chuckford, doing a forward flip off stage. I had photographed twice of this jumping, and he landed on his feet.
Wow. Yeah. Did you ever do daytime photographs of skating and surfing?
No.
Nope. Yeah.
I had only did a little bit of skateboard stuff. I was skateboarding when I was a kid, and have clay wheels on a board I'd made in 1963, around the time Kennedy was shot. And when I saw urethane wheels, I was like, what? Doesn't it walnut? I was just blown away because the clay wheel, you did a piece of gravel, you're on, we don't know if urethane wheels go right over. So I got new trucks and urethane wheels for my skateboard and used to ride it. I was good at cartwheels and tic-tacs. I could do a nose wheelie for about 50 feet. Shit.
I think it.
Well, it should spin around good.
So, there's another photograph over here of a series of boots that I believe was taken at Iski Dogs. Is that correct?
Yep.
But this is my memory from back then. I believe I saw it in the calendar section. Am I wrong?
You was pretty up.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not. I'm always wrong, so you can decide. Yeah, I thought it was in Times.
I thought it was even up there.
It's the weekly. It's the weekly. Okay, tell us about that photo, because I think that another, again, like we sort of look at these things and we're like, oh, that's so like iconic and of the time. But literally, that's one of my earliest memories of where this sort of fashion was going from punk rock to this kind of working class aesthetic.
I Shaw's Cap photographed at OC Dogs and either late 1970s, 9 or within 80. And it's Reeves Campbell from a band called Monin and Spree from the San Gabriel Valley. Linda Kerr in the middle and Monty Harrison on the right. It doesn't have anything to do with Bad Religion.
What artist is it associated with? Did it end up on an opposite?
Yeah, Bad Religion.
Death comes to it now.
They licensed it for 88.5 and everything inside was mine, and there was no photography credit anywhere in the package.
That'll teach you.
And then,
so I am a big fan of the fight at the end of the funnel.
we keep
I would have some questions. Do you guys mind if I just ask some personal questions that I'm curious about? What is the connection with Coltrane? Or your connection to Coltrane?
Besides, I like his music. It was a pun off of Jesus Christ, what would JC do? So I put Sir John Coltrane there.
Right.
That's a better question to me.
Right. Do you guys know who John Coltrane is? Okay. I always find that it's really interesting that you would evoke John Coltrane, because I often see in photography and Coltrane's music a sort of dissonance and a deep composition that came with both of those artists, like with music at that time.
Somebody told most about them things.
Yeah, and photography of that time, which I think ended up influencing us and our art.
Having played in Claxton.
Yeah. So the very last page of Blight at the end of Funk does say, stay tuned for volumes 2 through 4. Where are my volumes 2 through 4?
It actually says look for volume 2.
It does.
Originally, it was supposed to be 4-volume box set, the Greg Escalante, the cool brother of Joey. Published it through Cal State Fullerton, and there was supposed to be a feed book called A Day in the Strife, rock and roll celebrity kind of portrait one called Like a Worship, the fucking street photography called The Doors of Perception Were Locked, and the fourth one of my sculptures called Drawing Them Alongside the Brain. And it immediately got shoved down into one volume, and that was really fun. We had 4 volumes mocked up, not in flesh out, but mocked up. And she said, we're just doing this. We have to come up in the mid-side line and said, well, we could call it a matter in my shit.
It's close.
But, so that happened. Yeah, and I'm happy about it. I mean, it came out good. It was kind of a condensed over 25-year overview.
Sure. So my last question.
Last one.
So I don't see any studio work here, and I'm not going to ask about that, but I see the importance of how you've set artists into environments. Why the Vandals in the Natural History Museum?
Oh, they wanted to go there. I cannot believe we didn't get thrown out of there. I couldn't believe it. They were so rowdy. Kind of feeling my late great friend Steve Human. Too bad I wasn't there at this particular time. He climbed over the fence and got into the maintenance boat and went out with riding this Astrodon in the tar pit. And it was
It got stuck.
it was fiberglass, didn't weigh much, and so it's kind of sinking and stuff. So I met Human. We were going to do a podcast together, and I actually cried for a week after it died every time I thought about it.
Yeah. I would love to open this up if anybody has. Iris Berry.
I had a lot of questions.
Yeah, that all about questions.
What was the book that got merged? Who was the publisher?
Last Gas and Celtic Bulletin.
Miss Laska's still around?
I'm not sure. I think so. I think Ron Turst passed away.
I know. I think it's a cheap for me. Are you still going to shows shooting or?
But I quit shooting in the early '84.
Yeah. Well, you got the Westport signed.
Yeah, I got a studio at that time and started doing studio photography and location photography for lesser companies that actually paid me.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to bring up. We're talking about you contributed up to over 80 records by 1983, but that was not where your career ended.
No,
These contributed all the way through the 2000s.
Ice Cube fortunes that Fab used for his greatest hits package.
Yeah, none of that's here. You know, one of my favorites is the Insane Clown Posse photo.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, how can you show them in any kind of way they haven't been? Have Ed Colver come in and ship your band. I mean, honestly.
Absolutely near it.
It's not in here.
Oh, I did a photograph of them where I had a black velvet background. I sat them on chairs and then covered their bodies with black velvet, so it was only their heads showing. And 2 days, I saw that they wore that black and white clown makeup. And 2 days before they showed up in my studio, I took a piece of glass and laid 2 pieces of twine down in a U shape and took bathtub coffee. See, after I pronounce that properly.
Yeah.
And made these little sort of stringy necklaces. And so I covered their bodies with black velvet and tied them around their neck so it looked like these severed shreds. And I just lit them with one strobe light that my friend James Hill was reaching over the black velvet and holding them by their dreadlocks so it looked like these severed heads dangling into tape.
That's incredible.
That's great.
Yeah.
So very easy too.
Speaking of severed heads, so we have 45 Grave over here, and Don Bowles, Drumline Germs, and 45 Grave is holding 2 objects, which are human femurs. Why don't you tell us about that?
Okay, I won't name the people that dug them up, but that was done. He's at the Spotter Cemetery on the west side of Pomona near South Hallway. It was sort of a notorious party place. I was speaking to somebody there today, you have to drink here there.